to give the Lifetime Achievement Award to Padma Vibhushan Dr. S. Subramaniam.
Dr. Subramaniam will be speaking to Shailaja Khanna, who we have in our midst and who has been conducting some superb sessions and furthering our inquiry into what makes our musical greats so great and what is this legacy that we must hold dear. Thank you, Dr. Subramaniam. Shailaja ji, aaiye.
Good afternoon to all of you. Such an honor to be sitting on the same stage as the God of Violin. And this is a title that has been given to him not from today, but many decades ago. In fact, I would like to quote what, in many views, the ultimate violinist, Lord Yehudi Menuhin, said about Dr. LS. And he's an older generation. He's his father's contemporary. He said of him, "I'm carried away in wonderment when I hear you." He said he said, "I find your music inspiring." I mean, this is what he said many decades ago, and then they've collaborated together too. So maybe start with that incident when you spoke about how you collaborated with him, when you invited him at the UN. I heard that. Would you like to talk about that?
Namaste and good evening to everybody. And thanks for the nice introduction. I met Menuhin. They were celebrating his 70th birthday in Bonn, Germany. At that time, I got a call from one of his secretaries saying that, can you come and play? Because there are a lot of international artists, celebrated artists are performing. He's very fond of India, so he wants India to be represented by you. Can you come and play? I said, sure, because everybody knew Menuhin. He was one of the greatest violinists of all times in Western classical music. So I went there. There were different great artists. One of the greatest piano players were there. Another violinist, Gideon Kramer. Many people were playing. So they gave me extra time because he knew we cannot play a piece in 5 minutes, 6 minutes. He said, you play long piece, whatever you like. So I played a 20 minutes piece of little kriti, our traditional South Indian music. After that was over, he immediately came onto the stage and hugged me and said, I never heard such a powerful music. We should collaborate. Normally, when people say that, we think that's elderly people, senior people trying to bless us, being kind to us. So I thought it was like basically he was trying to be polite and things like that. But subsequently, next year, I think there was celebrating 40th year of India's independence in the United Nations. I was approached to play a classical solo. And at that time, Mr. Garek Khan, who was there, UN ambassador from India to UN, and Alan Nasreth was the Consul General in New York. So he approached me and said, we are trying to reach Menuhin, but we are not able to get through to him. He's not available. Can you convince him to come and play for the UN? For the 40th year of independence. I said, I don't know him that well. I just met him. And whatever the logistic, everything, you have to go through the management, because everybody had management. So it's not like, you call and they come. So I explained that, and then yet he said, can you call him? So I called his secretary. So immediately they said he's not available, he's traveling, everything. But I just left a message. But next day I got a call back. He said, Lord Menuhin want to talk to you. So he said, hello, maestro, how are you? He said, him calling me maestro, I was really surprised and said, I just wanted to find out if you're free, because we are very, very keen, our Indian government is very keen that you should perform in the United Nations for the celebration of 40th year of India. So that in that connection, I call. If you are free, then the rest of it, they will talk to you directly to your management and everything. He said, you are asking me, I'll come and play. Nobody need to talk to me. You tell me where I should come, when I should come. That's how our friendship started. Then, when this was decided, then he called again and said, can you write a piece so we can play together?
What an honor, sir, that he played to your music. Yeah.
So originally he was supposed to play Bach alone, and I was supposed to play my own Carnatic solo. That was the original plan. Then he said, we should play together, can you write a piece together? So that's how the first collaboration with him started. Since then, we did a lot more together with Mr. Stefan Grappelli. We did all the world violinists, did some special recording for EMI. And Lord Menion came to India a couple of times for me. And he was also, when I started my father's festival, he was one of the first patrons, him, Grappelli, and Peter Brooks. These were the three greats. They were first patrons of my father's festival. So when we started the Lakshmanarana Global International Festival Award, I invited Lord Menion to come and receive the first award, and he was very kind to come and receive the award.
And sir, you of course belong to a family of musicians, violinists, your uncles, your revered father. It was his dream that the violin is recognized as a solo instrument on international platforms. And you made that dream come true for him. You did your masters there at a very young age. And thereafter, you have, I think there is maybe something like 50 orchestras whom you've collaborated with. You've written over, I think, 100 pieces of music, something like that, which orchestras across the world have played to. In fact, Nitish, can I request you to play a video? One of the videos? Is that possible? With the symphony orchestras, any one of them. So, with your permission, we'll play some music. Let the audience hear. And before that starting, I could say that Dr. Subramaniam's violin sound is so mellow that I think if you once heard it, you can never mistake it for anybody else. It's such a rounded, beautiful, beautiful, powerful sound. But it all started quite differently. It started with you playing with your brothers, the violin trio, and you made waves even then. And then you changed even your way of holding the instrument to adapt to a Western stage. So it was a long journey. Would you like to talk about some of the challenges and your bowing techniques that you introduced for the first time?
I think basically all the impressions and the thought was my father's, my guru and my father, Professor V. Lakshmi Narayana. Because normally you should be very lucky to get an excellent guru who shows the right path and guides you so that you can continue in the direction with full faith till you achieve what your dream is. My father's dream was to make the Indian violin as a solo instrument heard in major concert hall. He used to say, like where Menuhin or New York Philharmonic, all the major orchestras where they are playing, we should also hear our Indian classical music, Indian violin in those auditoriums, not house concerts. Because those days they used to have a lot of house concerts. People used to travel, go abroad and do house concerts. He was very, very dead against it. He said we should not do it. We should do present the music in such a way so we get the respect for the music more than us. The music has to be respected. With that dream, when I want to switch over from medicine, after finishing my medicine, I said I'll want to continue music. I didn't have any problem with my parents. Both the parents said go ahead, fully supported, even though a lot of my parents' friends told them, he's doing crazy thing, he wants to become a composer. No composer hears his own music when he's alive. After he's dead and gone, maybe somebody will play his pieces. So tell him and correct him, show him the right path, let him go back and practice medicine in US. So with all this advice, my father and mother said, if you like to do the music, only condition, don't play house concerts, try to take our violin to the major concert hall. So all the credit goes to them, because not only he taught me, he also gave me a vision and a direction, what I wanted to do. It's not like just playing a concert in different cities and not that. He said our aim is to make this Indian violin internationally known. Yeah. So with that aim, after finishing my MBBS, I did my master's in composition. Because always, if you have to do some major orchestral work, you have to know the orchestration, you have to know the Western language, that part of orchestration, harmony, the instrumentation, everything, then you can do better. Otherwise, you write something Indian and somebody else transposes it to Western. You really don't go to the essence of Western music. So he said, do your MA in Western music. I did that. Then I did my PhD in Raga harmony.
Yes.
So that how I wrote, because when I wrote initially, even though I studied the Western music, slowly I started doing differently than the conservative Western approach to orchestration. I wanted to use all our Indian ragas, because we have in South Indian tradition 72 parent scales. Yes. Derived from the 72 parent scale, there are millions of derived scales. So if I can use those scales and convert them into raga and create harmony with those ragas, then we are completely creating a totally new genre of tonalities and emotions, because each raga also has different rasa, different emotion. So with that, I started using different ragas. So that's how the raga harmony theory also started coming.
So the book that Doctor refers to is available on sale. I forgot to bring my copy, but it's there and published by Westland Books. And it's just out, I think about 6 months earlier. And it's a path-breaking book, because it basically is explaining how anybody can use Indian rags to compose music for symphonies. Am I right? That's in essence what it does. And I think it's a culmination of Doctor's research in the field. But about your, how you have shifted. Nitishji, can we have a clip of Sir playing Carnatic music, so that the people can see the difference? I think you'd sent one. Yeah, maybe it's hot. Sir, I can't help but notice that your use of gamakas is so muted and restrained. And I remember you once told me this when I asked that how you as a Carnatic musician have slightly even changed how it is presented. You said the use of gamakas is to be in a judicious way. Would you like to tell us a little bit more?
Basically, the gamakas, which are ornamentation, where we slide between notes, we can slide in different direction, going towards a note, approaching the note from above, below, or different direction. But the most important thing is the precision, so that you can't hear me?
Well,
So so whenever you do a gamaka, it has to be clear and point to point. You don't use the note which doesn't belong to the raga. One has to be very careful. This is what I learned from my father. Saying instead of just, sometimes when you do multiple, also when you do gamaka, there's no specific way. Nobody says, how many times you have to slide, what speed you have to slide. There are many, many little things there. Generally, they say slide between notes. So what tempo of the slide, how slow, how fast. And when you hit a note, whether that note in between you hear the other notes which doesn't belong to the raga, that should not be there. You should hear only the notes of the raga. So whenever you do the raga gamakas, you should be careful and try to hit the note only of that raga and maintain the speed so that the clarity is very, very good and the tonality is very good, so that you can convey the emotion of the gamakas to the other side.
yes, it's very aesthetically presented always. And on the double bowing technique, will we as lay people understand? Because somebody told me that, a violinist told me that what he has done with his bowing, I mean, I don't know, in 20, 30 years if somebody will achieve that. Perhaps it's too complex for us to understand, I don't know.
Also, there are two things. Whenever people use the bow, they are comfortable using the middle part of the bow, so that you are comfortably there using like that. My father used to say, we have the entire bow, we have to get control of the entire length of the bow, so you can sustain a note for a very long time. And also the pressure, what you give, as you go far away from the string, the weight becomes lighter. So slowly you have to increase the pressure, so there's no change in the tone. One should not know which part of the bow you are playing. Generally, if the higher part of the bow, with your hand gravity and weight, it is much more stronger. When you go towards the end, your hand is away, the weight is less. So easily you can identify which part of the bow anybody is playing. He used to say one should not know which part of the bow you are playing, and also when you change the bow, it should be like one sound, so it should not be like a break there. So these are the minute things for the slow bowing. For the faster bowing, he started developing certain techniques where you can almost create like a ensemble playing instead of one person playing. So in addition to playing multiple notes at the same time, also the plucking with the outer two strings sometimes. So instead of one violin, especially this technique we developed, because when you play with a big orchestra, sometimes we play open air for 10,000 people, 15,000 people, 100 people orchestra playing, then suddenly you are playing your violin solo alone. It's a very, very tricky situation. Already, earlier the Western thoughts, Indian music, especially Carnatic music, violin, they thought we are playing ethnic music or folk music, sitting down and playing. So in order to convince them, this is one of the probably the most complex classical tradition available. So we have to also develop a lot of new techniques which they cannot duplicate. That was my father's strategy. So he created a lot of multiple techniques, like, all of a sudden when the full orchestra play, when I had to play alone, he made sure that I also sound like a big ensemble playing. So these are all some of the ideas which was put in my mind when I was very young. And I worked towards it when I was in US. That's all we did. Also the control of the bow from the beginning to the end, so that the tone, what you get, is your own tone. It's whatever you do, you should be able to identify. It's like whenever a singer sings, because the tonality is identifiable because of the voice quality and timbre and things.
So true.
So whereas an instrumental thing, he said you have to create your own color, your own tone. So people, when you play, that bowing is very important.
Sir, talking about the violin, that reminded me that I had read that your connection, your family's connection with the violin is several decades, a couple of centuries. I think it linked to Balu Swami Dikshitar in the 19th century. Mathuswami Dikshitar's disciple? Or?
My father's teachers, they were from the three, Muthuswami, Baluswami Dikshitar, and Shama Sastri and Thakaraja, that lineage. He learned with different people. But in my family, my father started teaching his one of his younger brother, Ramnath Krishna, was a fantastic vocalist. He is no more. Ramnath Krishna, Ramanathapuram, they used to call. He was a fantastic classical vocalist. He died young. Then another Chittappa, which is my father's younger brother, Venkatachalam, used to play in All India Radio, Kozhikode. Two brothers of my father. One was Ramanath Ishwaran, he was in the All India Radio, Delhi. And another uncle, he was in US teaching. So the whole family was, my father was very fond of music. My father's mother used to sing. Those days, not in concert, but she learned properly, but those days they were not allowed to sing in a public function or something like that. So she used to see any important function in the family or friend, she used to sing. So he started learning vocal, and he was fascinated by the violin. So he wanted to make the violin, transform the violin, so he switched to violin.
Right. Sir, you've also collaborated with everybody, all sorts of genres, jazz, North Indian music, all sorts of people. Any special one concert that you really remember? And if Nitishji has any recordings of any jugalbandis, any jugalbandi or collaboration with somebody? If we could hear that, otherwise if Sir can just talk us through.
You have with Menuhin a little bit, but I can talk about the North-South Jugalbandi.
The first one was with Ustad Ali Akbar Khan Sahab.
With Ustad Ali Akbar Khan Sahab, because he was in San Rafael, he was in West Coast of California, and he was probably one of the greatest musicians of all times. As a musician, as a sarod player, I mean, he was somewhere different. So at that time, I was touring with Ravi Shankar ji and promoted by George Harrison along with Alaraka ji, and a lot of other great artists were there at the time. So one concert in Lincoln Center, one of the organizations said, we want to do a concert with North-South. So you play first half and Khan Sahab can do the second half and do something like that. So when they approached, I was very happy because I knew him and I met him a few times. Then immediately he said, why not we also do something at the end together? So that was the start of the North-South Jugalbandi. Credit as much goes to Dr. Ali Akbar Khan Sahab also, because even though we thought about it, we did the first North-South Jugalbandi in US, in Lincoln Center. And he said, before Lincoln Center, why not we do one thing, one concert in Wheeler Auditorium, San Francisco, where he was in the West Coast. So he organized a concert. So fortunately, that concert was recorded, and we released the first Jugalbandi, the first Raga, Jog, and the second one, Sindhu Bhairavi. Then subsequently, we did Kirvani and different things for the radio and television. And next time, I'll try to get that video of Ali Akbar Khan Sahab. So that was the start of the Jugalbandi.
And after that, it's become so popular now. Everybody followed. The North-South Jugalbandis are so common now, especially between instrumentalists.
So that we also I started doing with people like Pandit Jasraji. Yes. We did Jugalbandi with him, and also with Kathak and Carnatic music with the Brij Maharaj ji and Kavita and me. We all collaborated and did things. So the crossover and doing projects together became much more common and popular after 70s.
I won't take up more of your time, sir, because I know that you've just traveled and I'm sure you're tired. You've given us a glimpse into the magnitude of the work you've done, this canvas of work you've done, because you haven't just mastered one genre, you have really mastered three, actually. I didn't even talk about his composing for films, which were all award-winning. He's done 5 or 6 films against his will. He sort of did films as well. So many hats, and it's a privilege that you came today to the Lit Fest. And a copy of his book is available outside. And it is one of the finest reads I have read. it's very simple to understand. It gives the basics of the structure of our classical music traditions, North and South, and then his theory, how to empower people to create music in a Western context, Indian rags. Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot. And thanks for this award, Doctor. It's a great pleasure to be here. This is the first time I'm here for this festival. And I'm very, very moved and touched for giving me this award, Life Achievement Award. And thanks a lot for the beautiful introduction and interview with today. Namaste.
Thank you, Dr. Subramaniam. On behalf of the entire Navras and Ahad Anhad Festival team, a big, big thank you to you to just be here in our midst. Clearly, we cannot honor you enough. Ajit ji, wo... Thank you.